Hello and welcome to SAP TechEd 2020. My name is Dilip Suresh and I'm an architect with the SAP Customer Experience team. In today's session, we're going to talk about the different integration scenarios of SAP Sales Cloud and SAP Service Cloud with Qualtrics. The agenda for this session is as follows. We're going to talk about the experience gap and why it's so important. We're also going to talk about how you can bridge that experience gap with the integration of Service Cloud and Sales Cloud with Qualtrics. We'll briefly look at the integration architecture and look at the detailed demo. The experience gap. Experience gap is when companies fail to deliver on the experience that customers expect of them, thus leading to a lack of trust in the brand. When customer feedback is not listened to, it leads to a deep plummeting loyalty, and this leads to a loss of revenue and business. This is where the integration scenario of SAP Sales Cloud and Service Cloud can help companies bridge the gap. Now let's look at the different integration scenarios that will help companies bridge the gap. We first have the closed loop feedback with which you can create a service ticket in Service Cloud based on negative survey feedback. We have the general response mapping with which you can create and update business object instances in Sales Cloud and Service Cloud based on survey responses. Then we finally have the satisfaction survey score tracking. All of us at some point of time would have had some bad experience with companies. We would have also gone ahead and given some feedback, hoping to hear back from the company. With this feature, it is possible to create a service ticket in Service Cloud, act on the responses, and keep your customers happy and loyal. Every industry has some very specific business processes. And as part of those processes, they want to keep track of their customer feedback and customer success in a different way. As part of these specific business processes, the companies want to ask a very unique set of questions to their customers, gather the response, and analyze the feedback in a very unique way. Here is where general response mapping comes into picture, wherein you're able to create and update different business object instances in Sales Cloud and Service Cloud using OData API. Along with the pre-delivered configuration, it is possible to fully extend the configuration to meet your specific use cases. Finally, the satisfaction survey response tracking. So it is possible upon service ticket closure in Service Cloud to trigger a survey to the end users. And when they fill the survey, the satisfaction score is captured and the score is tracked in the Service Cloud. Let's briefly look at the integration architecture. So we have the Qualtrics XM platform. We have SAP Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. And to integrate Qualtrics with SAP Sales Cloud and Service Cloud, we use Cloud Platform Integration, that is CPI. We have a plugin developed newly on the Qualtrics platform called SAP Customer Experience plugin. There are iFlows that need to be deployed on the Cloud Platform Integration, which in turn invoke the OData APIs on Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. In this demo, we will see the different integration scenarios of SAP Service Cloud and SAP Sales Cloud with Qualtrics XM platform. The scenario 1 will focus on the closed loop feedbacks, wherein tickets can be created in the SAP Service Cloud based on unsatisfactory survey responses received on the Qualtrics. Scenario 2 will focus on satisfaction survey response capturing and tracking them in SAP Service Cloud. Scenario 3 will focus on general response mapping, wherein it is possible to create or update different business object instances in both SAP Service Cloud and SAP Sales Cloud based on attribute mapping of the Qualtrics survey response answers. So now let's head to the demo. For the closed loop feedback, I have a sample survey here called as a Mountain Peak survey. It's a typical survey that is usually sent out to customers, possibly during the end or during the stay at hotels. So I have a bunch of questions here which expect the customers to describe their experiences during or after their stay at a hotel. So like you can see, there are some questions here which ask the customers to describe how they felt, what was the rating they would give, would they recommend this hotel to other friends or colleagues, any general description they want to maintain, and provide their email ID for a follow-up. So this is how the survey looks like. Now let's go to the actions tab. So Qualtrics has the actions framework where it is possible to trigger some action based on conditions. So I have an action called follow-up ticket creation, which starts off whenever somebody fills a survey. And the condition is on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend? So we had that question like you saw in the survey designer. So if that answer to that question is a detractor response, then this action gets triggered. And the task linked to this action is to create a follow-up ticket in the SAP Service Cloud with the following attributes. So here the customer has to maintain the CPI tenant URL like described earlier in the architecture. We use CPI to communicate between Qualtrics and SAP Sales Cloud and SAP Service Cloud. So the CPI endpoint has to be given here. Then you can choose the different attributes of the ticket that need to be created in the Service Cloud. So here I choose a ticket type. There is a subject you can choose, priority. You can also map the email ID and the description to the ticket attributes. You can also link if there is an account existing in the SAP Service Cloud with this email ID to the ticket that gets created. So this is the configuration that you have to maintain in the actions framework. So now let's see a demo of this. So I have a survey which I'm going to fill, the Mountain Peak survey. So were the staff courteous? Yes, the staff were courteous. The room condition was probably not so good. The overall service is not so good. How likely am I to recommend? So I wouldn't recommend. Then, okay, so the room service was not so good, needs to be improved. And then I would provide my email ID for a follow-up. Now I'll submit the survey. So the survey has been submitted. And since I gave a detractor response, the condition should have got satisfied. Now let's head over to the Service Cloud and see that the ticket would have got created. Let's refresh. Now you see here that the follow-up ticket has been created for the customer John Doe. And the description has also got captured, priority, and the ticket type. So this illustrates the closed loop feedback wherein we are able to create tickets in the Service Cloud upon receiving unsatisfactory survey responses. The next part of the demo will focus on capturing the satisfaction survey responses in SAP Service Cloud. So here I have tickets created by an end customer which are open and technicians are assigned to work on this. So let us go. There are two tickets right now for this customer John Doe. One is a home theater setup and configuration. The other one is a TV display malfunction. So let's assume that the technicians are assigned to these tickets and the technicians go on site and work on the issue and resolve the issue. So these are the two issues that are reported by the customer: TV display malfunction and a home theater setup and configuration. So the technician would work on this and then complete the tickets. And then once the tickets are completed, workflow rules are set up in the SAP Service Cloud to trigger email to the end customer so that the customer can fill out a satisfaction survey with which they indicate how satisfied they were with the services performed. So the corresponding survey is a customer satisfaction survey that I have here. So it has a bunch of questions again, which expects the user to indicate how satisfied they were with the service provided, and then would they recommend this particular service provider to friends or colleagues. Then there's also a question, would it be all right to follow up with you regarding products and services? So with this question, we can hook it up to the general response mapping. So this is the survey design of the satisfaction survey, which gets triggered when tickets are completed. Now, heading to the actions tab of the Qualtrics survey. So here I have configured 3 actions. So the first action is to capture the survey score. So as and when end customers fill out the survey score is calculated, and the survey score so calculated is captured in the Service Cloud against the respective ticket. So this is the first action. The second and the third action illustrate the general response mapping. So if you can remember, we had a question which asked the user whether they are satisfied with the services provided by the company. So it's like a question on a scale of 1 to 10. So here we can have a condition that if the customer is not satisfied with the services provided, then we can reopen the ticket. Okay, so that the technicians would be reassigned and then they'll have to work on the ticket again. And then there is this question on would it be all right to follow up with you regarding the products and services. So if you have a happy customer, then there is a likelihood that they might want to follow up to provide them some additional recommendation on new products and services. So based on the answers given to these two questions, the second and the third action would use the general response mapping feature to either reopen a ticket or create a follow-up task in the SAP Sales Cloud and SAP Service Cloud. So I'll just show you the configuration. So the first configuration is for the capture survey score. So here, this action gets triggered whenever a survey response has been submitted. So this will make a call to the SAP Service Cloud to persist the survey score in the Service Cloud against the respective ticket. So the second and third action, as I just described, are to use a general response mapping feature to create or update business object instances in SAP Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. The first example is to create a follow-up task in the SAP Sales Cloud. So here, whenever it is triggered, whenever a survey response has been submitted, and the customer has indicated that he is okay to have a follow-up from the company. So this question, the answer to this question is true, which triggers the task. And here is a task which is a general response mapping. So here we can see that the action is create. Again, the CPI tenant URL has to be provided. The underlying business object is a task. The subject can be mapped from a Qualtrics survey response, which is a ticket ID, and even an account ID can be filled in here. And the category of the task is a marketing. So this is how you can fill the different attributes of the business object task in the SAP Sales Cloud with the corresponding survey responses. Going to the third action, this is the reopen ticket action. So here again, when a survey response is submitted and the survey response to the question whether the customer is satisfied or not is a detractor type of a response, is when this action gets triggered, which then invokes this task. And in this task, you can see that it's an update type of an action on the business object ticket, wherein for the ticket ID that is involved, the status code is set back to in process from completed, and it's also escalated. Okay, so this is how the configuration can be done so that the create of the business object instance and update of the business object instance on the SAP Service Cloud and Sales Cloud can be realized. So one point to note here is these list of attributes for the corresponding business objects is fully configurable in the SAP Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. So if you go now to the SAP Sales Cloud and the Service Cloud, so there is a work center called Qualtrics integration scenario configuration, with which it is possible to configure OData endpoints and the entity sets and the corresponding entity fields for the Qualtrics integration. And it is fully dynamic that the attributes can be enabled for create and update. So now I'm setting this ticket to completed, which will trigger a workflow email to the end customer's email ID, that is John Doe. So let me save this ticket. This is the home theater setup and configuration. Let me also complete the, now let me go and set the other ticket also to completed. Now that both the tickets are completed, this would trigger the workflow rule, which would send out an email from the SAP Service Cloud to the end customer to fill out a satisfaction survey. Now let me go to my email inbox, and I see that there are two mails received from the Service Cloud. Let me go ahead and open them. So this is the satisfaction survey for the TV display malfunction ticket, and I would fill out the survey for this. So there are a bunch of questions whether I'm satisfied or not. So let me say I'm satisfied with the TV display malfunction repair. And I would say it would be all right for the company to follow up with me. So I would say yes to this. Okay. So now I go back to my email and go to the other email I received, which is the satisfaction survey for the home theater setup and configuration. So let me also fill out the survey for this. So I would say I'm not satisfied with the service provided here, and I would say it is not all right for the company to follow up with me because I'm not a satisfied customer. So this would trigger the two different tasks that I showed earlier during the survey design setup. So now let's see what has happened. I'll now go back to my Service Cloud and wait for the task to be completed. As can be seen here, the home theater setup and configuration ticket, the service I received for this was not satisfactory, so I gave a unsatisfied score. In the survey response, the status is back to in process and the ticket has got escalated, like we set up in the general response mapping update task. And the TV display malfunction was addressed to my satisfaction, so the ticket stays as completed. So now let's take a look at what has happened to the scores. So this ticket is where I had not given a satisfactory score. So let me go to the surveys visit. And in the Excel survey, you can see that the satisfaction survey has been filled by John Doe. The response is pretty bad. So it's overall 14%. And the ticket has been reopened and it's got escalated. Going back to the TV display malfunction, which was a satisfactory score, it stays completed. And in the surveys facet, in the Excel survey, there is a very good score. Now let me also go to the customer and see that a follow-up task has been created because I gave a go ahead for the company to contact me. So now if you can see here, there is a follow-up task created for the customer because the survey score was satisfactory and the question which said, is it all right to follow up for products and services was answered as yes. So this demo shows scenarios 2 and 3 wherein you're able to see the survey score being captured in the Service Cloud, and as well as a general response mapping with which you are able to trigger an update of a business object instance, as well as create new business object instance in SAP Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. With this, we come to the end of the demo. Thank you. For more information on related topics, please attend the following session, CX116, which talks about the intelligent technologies of SAP Sales Cloud and SAP Service Cloud. You can continue your learning experience with SAP TechEd 2020 with an exhaustive list of sessions, which will help you enrich your knowledge. Thank you for attending this session, and you can find our contact details for any further queries you might have. Thank you so much.